place to start then. 2 title challenges, 2 goals each, plenty of talking points, but Arsenal and Liverpool couldn't be separated after Mohamed Salah's late goal and Liverpool a 2-2 draw.
Well, you don't want to be in that position, you want to be 5 points ahead, but this is where we are, and again, I think the team it's alive. The team wants it. I feel it every single day. The players I cannot play, they're upset that they are not playing. The ones that they get injured, the ones that they are there, they are in a good moment. So this will turn up, and we're gonna in a better place. But we are certainly there.
And it's good morning, Stephen.
Morning, Robert.
Good morning, Sue.
Good morning, Rob.
I'm concerned, Sue, that after Saturday, I felt that you were doing Soccer Saturday on your own at one point with that game of the G-Tech. If you need a break at any point, just give us a shout. We'll redress your work-life balance, okay? You recovered?
Oh, what a game.
Some game, wasn't it?
Absolutely brilliant game, yeah.
But yesterday wasn't bad either, was it? 2-2 at the Emirates. Sort of feels like a draw, Sue, where both teams might feel they could have won it, but we'll be glad that they didn't lose it. Who does that point suit more, do you think?
Oh, probably say it suits Pep Guardiola and Manchester City more in terms of both of their rivals have dropped points. But yeah, you're right. I think you look at the first half. Say Arsenal maybe the better of the 2 sides. The real positive that Saka was fit and available. I thought he was outstanding, and then Liverpool had the better of the second half. So I think from an Arsenal perspective, they'll be disappointed to lose it when there was only 10 minutes left, say, and they were 2-1 in the lead. So they were at home, so you think to not get those 3 points. But then I suppose you then look at the injury situation that they've got when both the centre halves were off in the end. You've got Partey playing at right back who can do it, but we know that he's a centre back, and then you've got young players coming on as well. So you'd probably say, if I had to pick, you'd probably say Liverpool was the better point for, because they're away from home, and we know that going to the Emirates is a tough place to go despite all the injuries that they've got.
I think when you look at Liverpool's record, clean sheets going into the game, only conceding 3 goals, Arsenal would have known it would have been very difficult to break Liverpool down. I thought they were superb in the way that they attacked in the first half, and the way that they pulled players out of positions in the midfield areas, and that was very impressive. But from Liverpool's point of view, to come from behind twice away from home, I think the big thing for them would have been within the change room. We don't leave the Emirates with anything less than a point. Bare minimum, that has to be it, because if we can keep Arsenal arm's length for as long as possible, then that bodes well down the line for the title race.
Well, as Arsenal or Sue and Stephen rather, have mentioned Arsenal twice in front in that game at the Emirates, so could they have been more ruthless to kill that match off yesterday? That's certainly what the former Manchester United captain Roy Keane thought.
I just worry about that belief and that mentality where you're going, I don't do they really have that belief and conviction that they're a top team and they can really challenge Man City. I still don't see it. I think they've made great progress, and it seems really, I suppose, critical, but you have to look at it when you compare them to Man City, where Man City got to the last few years.
It was an interesting discussion, Stephen, as to how Arsenal should view that, both from Roy Keane and from Jamie Carragher, who was saying that if anything, Mikel Arteta is more similar to Jose Mourinho than he is to Pep Guardiola. Just to pick up on what Sue said, if you finish a game with a back 4 of Thomas Partey, Ben White at centre-half, Jakub Kiwior and Miles Lewis-Skelly, can it be expected that maybe you retreat into your shell just a little bit?
Yeah, you can't press in the same way, and you can't leave. What Arsenal's great strength is, or one of them, is the 2 centre-backs in Saliba and Gabriel are very happy to be left in a 2v2 situation, 1v1 situation. But the Arsenal team that was there yesterday aren't as comfortable doing that. So what you've got to do, you've got to protect them a little bit more. There's also an element of, well, they've tried to go after teams and they've tried to score goals, and last year that still wasn't enough. So Mikel Arteta's now thinking, well, what can I do differently? How can I approach this season a little bit differently and maybe change things? And maybe he's gone, maybe we can be a little bit more defensive once we get ourselves in front, because defensively we're so strong and so well organised. But obviously the injuries that they got yesterday impacted that.
Yeah, that's the big problem, isn't it? That Saliba and Gabriel are so strong, and actually Arsenal have been pretty fortunate in recent seasons that key players, whether it be Saliba and Gabriel, whether it be Declan Rice, whether it be Bukayo Saka, have missed so little football.
And that's the thing, I think they're going through that difficult period now of trying to play without those key players. You know, we mentioned the two centre halves. Obviously, Saliba was suspended. Gabriel now. You just hope that that's not a long-term injury for them, because they have been so solid. Then the protection in front of them. The other player I think we've got to mention is Ødegaard, and how the quality that he provides. And you know, going back to the Jose Mourinho comment, I think we've praised Arsenal this season for showing different sides of the game. We've praised them for saying, well, they can be that defensive unit, be very well organised, difficult to beat and break down. We also see them playing that free-flow football and scoring lots of goals. But I think when you're playing against a side like Manchester City, you go down to 10 men, you could completely understand why they had to retreat. Yesterday, you could completely understand, because of, like you mentioned, the injuries that they've got in the back line, the way that Liverpool had gained that momentum. They're a top side, and I think that's something that Mikel Arteta and Arsenal will probably have to, I suppose, just get used to with those injuries. How are we going to cope with that? How are we going to cope with the squad and the rotation? It will be interesting to see for the rest of the season. Will they continue to do that when Ødegaard comes back? Will they continue to be that team that takes the lead and then sits back and retreats? I don't think they will.
Yeah, but there's an element of who you're playing as well.
Yeah.
You're playing one of the best attacking teams in world football, and the team that can open you up at will at times. So you've got to understand times in the game where you go, we're not quite getting out here, we're struggling with the press, and we're not quite where we need to be. So the best thing is to sit in for a little bit and then try and build yourself back into the game. But we've seen time and time again where they've got a lead and they're great defensively. So I find both sides of the arguments, you've got a case for both.
The other interesting point about the way that Arsenal play and being, as you said, defensively solid, do you think actually they get undone by a set piece in the last minute of the Etihad to draw that game? And you would perhaps say it's just a little moment of inexperience from Miles Lewis-Skelly yesterday, because he goes in, the ball goes over the top, but actually in open play, not in that transition where Liverpool score, both City at the Etihad and Liverpool started to look a little bit short of ideas.
Yeah, and I know what you mean in terms of, you know, as a team, when you sit back and you make it difficult for a team to break you down and score, but then it's not quite worked, because against Manchester City they did it and they conceded late on. Against Liverpool they did it and they obviously conceded for the draw. So yeah, I can completely sort of, you know, understand that argument, and I just think it's different. Like you said, it depends on the opponent, doesn't it, who you're playing against.
Yeah.
You know, whether you do that or not.
Yeah, I think so. I think the issue is like when you bring a youngster on at left back and you're up against Mohamed Salah, a little bit of naivety, a little bit of inexperience. But then if you have got Gabriel there, it's get yourself back in here. You're not going in that position. I felt it was a little bit of naivety as well from Kivior, who's come onto the pitch. Drag him in. Make sure that you don't concede a goal.
Do you think William Saliba's dragging him in?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
and that's the difference, isn't it? You're making sure that communication. I mean, you're not arguably with the best centre-back partnership in at the moment in world football, because you don't communicate. You protect yourself. You don't just go, we're great defenders, so we'll take people on. We organise round us. We make sure that there's a foundation in front of us that sets up for the press. So communication's half the key to being good defensively.
And I think Miles Lewis-Skelly coming on as a young man, a massive game, he's probably wanting to get forward and wanting to attack, and you can sort of understand that, can't you? And I suppose that's where you need that experience around you to just say, do you know what, just sit in, because as you say, you know Mohamed Salah, you know that when he's getting into those positions, he's going to sort of create and make things happen. So it's just learning from those things, I suppose.
We'll talk about the other end of the picture and Mohamed Salah a little bit later on, but as for the right winger for Arsenal, Bukayo Saka reached a special milestone yesterday, and Mikel Arteta very glad to have him back.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to have a little look at his movement, how he causes a problem to Andrew Robertson, how Liverpool perhaps could have defended a little bit better against him. But this was a major boost to have Bukayo Saka back in the Arsenal team. We know the ability he's got. Every time that he's on that right hand side, he's looking to be a danger. He got that record of 50 goals in. He finds himself 6th on the list. I mean, when you think about the form that he's been in, look at the achievement of Robbie Fowler to do that at the age of 20.
Yeah, great goal for Bukayo Saka. And Sue, we asked the question right at the top as to whether that was a good point or not for Arsenal. When you look at the fixtures that are coming, the next 4 games in all competitions are all away from home, including in the Premier League, it's Newcastle away and Chelsea away. would you say that 4 points would be minimum from those two games if Arsenal had tried to hang on to Manchester City's coattails?
Yeah, I think it's because we know that Manchester City don't drop many points, and the sort of margins are going to be so small that, yeah, they can't really afford to be dropping those points. I think from an Arsenal perspective, they'll just be hoping that the injuries aren't too serious and they're okay and they're coming back, because you don't want that disruption to the back line. I think going back to even the Bournemouth game last week, where they obviously lost that game but they went down to 10 men, and we were talking about not having sort of three of their key players in that game, and not having those players, it's always going to have an impact, isn't it, to any side, you know, if you're losing three of your key performers. So yeah, at minimum that's probably what they'll need to get, but difficult games away from home.